In other news, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has lost a vote of confidence in Parliament, paving the way for early elections on 23rd February 2025. Chancellor Scholz finds his loss as a good trigger for an early election and the best chance for reviving his party's political fortunes. The loss comes about 2 months after the collapse of Olaf Scholz's three-party coalition government, which left him leading a minority administration. We have details in our next report.
There were 207 members of parliament, mainly from his own party, who voted for him, while 394 voted against him and 116 abstained. Since Chancellor Scholz's three-party governing coalition collapsed in November, he had been reliant on support from the opposition Conservatives to pass any new laws. With Germany's stalled economy and the global crisis facing the West, staggering on until September 2025 for fresh election risked being seen as unacceptable by the electorate. Olaf Scholz's Social Democratic Party is trailing heavily in opinion polls, while the Conservative Christian Democratic Union under Friedrich Merz appears to be on course for a return to government. Before Monday's vote, Chancellor Scholz said the snap election was an opportunity to set a new course for the country. He called for massive investment, particularly in defense, while his opponent Friedrich Merz said more debt would be a burden for younger generations and promised tax cuts. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's decision to stage a vote he expected to lose in order to dissolve his own government is generally the only way a German government can dissolve parliament for early elections. The process was designed specifically by the post-war founders of modern Germany to avoid the political instability of the Weimar era. This vote of confidence is not a political crisis in itself. It is a standard constitutional mechanism that has been used by modern German chancellors 5 times to overcome political stalemate. It was deployed by Gerhard Schröder Dion in 2 occasions.
For more on Germany's snap election, global affairs analyst Collins Weke joins me live from Brussels in Germany. Mr. Weke, Chancellor Scholz appears to be spinning his loss as a positive opportunity for his party. Do you think this gamble will pay off or will ultimately lead to the downfall of his party?
Well, Nifemi, it is, you have to have the crystal ball to be able to make such predictions. But you see, there have been people before him who took such gambles. Some have won, some have actually lost, and for others, status quo was maintained. The last of such a gamble is the one that Emmanuel Macron of France took a few months back.
Indeed.
And in that, we saw how it panned out because indeed, the far-right political party there actually, made a very significant inroad. Now, it does look like, we are going to see about the same pattern in Germany. So, it might also mean that Germans will realize, on the basis of what had played out in the last several months, climaxing in the last weeks, that, essentially their country that happens to be the, powerhouse of, Europe, European Union, is facing a, very, very serious danger. And it might be a wake-up call for them to support a progressive, agenda that, Scholz has put to the table. So it's very difficult to see. On the other hand, of course, if you look at the margin of his loss, you will begin to shiver. You will begin to ask yourself, okay, the parliamentarians that voted against him, it was almost double of, the votes that he had. Were they representing themselves, or were they indeed representing the sentiments of the voters themselves? Will that play out in the General Assembly? So it's wait and see, as a matter of fact.
What do you consider the key issues that will dominate the election campaign, and how do you think the Chancellor's party will address them?
Well, the key issues, number one, climate is a matter of urgency. Of course, all across Europe, you have seen how much, migration has actually been played off, but very significantly, of course, is the issue of cost of living, which has actually turned out to be a global issue. One of the issues that one would not expect that it will, divide Germans so much is the war in Ukraine. There appear to be some sort of unanimity, except for some fringe, dissents here and there. I think one thing that German Chancellor, outgoing German Chancellor, would actually be emphasizing as his election, electoral key point is the fact that Germany needs to be stabilized, and he is the one that offers the biggest chance of stabilizing, the country. And I think on that basis, he will repeat some of the pledges he had made before that won him the election, and plead to the Germans to support him to be able to move the agenda forward, stabilize the nation, and ensure that their well-being is secured.
Precisely, how do you see this election impact on Germany's relations with other European countries, especially those with a different political ideology?
Well, the fact is that politics is a matter of left or right. And so those, on the left side of the political divide, which is where the German Chancellor is, will continue to, enjoy his support, whereas those on the political right and sometimes somewhere in the middle want to support his opponents, And so it is indeed creating a whole lot of division within Europe, and there is palpable fear as well. Fear in the sense that Germany is the dominant economy in Europe, and if they are, suffering this sort of political instability, it has a way of, sending some shivers around and kind of disrupting. It's going to be disruptive to Europe. So I think people are serious to see this play out well.
We expect to see the opposition parties capitalize on the Chancellor's loss at Parliament. Time will tell how much role they will play in the upcoming elections. Global Affairs analyst Colin Soweke, thank you for your contribution from Brussels.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Let's turn our